But now I want your calls on something very different. Could Jeremy Clarkson be our future Prime Minister? 0207 862 2222 is the number to give us a ring. Now, today, the TV presenter has been leading an army of farmers to battle against the government as they protest the inheritance tax. Now, in the past half hour, he's been speaking to the press. Let's take a listen.
How bad could this be for farmers, Jeremy?
It's the end.
In a hard right, Kenny?
If you actually stop and pay attention, it's the end.
Well, a new poll by a political research group, JL Partners, shows that Jeremy is actually more popular than any politicians. And a leading polling expert has suggested that he could be Britain's version of Donald Trump. So, should he be leading the country? It's not unheard of, really. Let's take a look at some other celebs turning politicians. First up, we've got the already mentioned Donald Trump, former star of the US version of The Apprentice. Another US president who started out in show business was obviously Ronald Reagan. He had a career as a movie actor, and he appeared in more than 50 films, so not a small career. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was a former comedy actor. His most celebrated role was playing a school teacher who then became president.
Bobby.
Closer to home, maybe that should be the debate. Closer to home, though, we have Oscar award-winning actress Dame Glenda Jackson, was a Labour MP for more than 2 decades. And then more recently, former TV presenter Esther McVey is the Conservative MP for Tatton. So there you go. There's definitely precedent there. But does Jeremy Clarkson fit the bill?
Well, I think those illustrations, underline why it's much harder in Britain. You know, a celebrity can stand for a presidential system where it's just one candidate. But, you know, we have a parliamentary system. So if Jeremy Clarkson wanted to be Prime Minister, it wouldn't matter just if he won an individual seat. He would need an army of Jeremy Clarksons to stand all over the country to win that, you know, half of MPs. But I think what's interesting is we really are living in an age of volatility. You know, people aren't loyal to the party that their parents voted for, which was traditionally the case. We see parties across Europe disappearing. Voters, if they're unhappy with what they're getting, the loyalty is gone to political parties. And so who do we know? Who can we identify with? It's people like Jeremy Clarkson, Martin Lewis, the money-saving expert. These are the people that a lot of voters trust now. And so although it's harder in a parliamentary rather than a presidential system, a party like my own, the Conservative Party, has no right to continue to, you know, exist or expectation of being in power again. Voters say, what are you going to do for me? Why should I vote for you? And I think a celebrity of the kind Jeremy Clarkson, Martin Lewis more so, I think they have an ability to connect and command confidence now that the mainstream parties should worry about. And I wouldn't rule out the possibility. I don't think Jeremy Clarkson will be the person, but if there's a big issue where the main political parties look like they all agree, they're not on the side of public opinion, I think you could get someone who'd come forward and could sweep the country if they had that right combo of celebrity and issue.
Well, I mean, celebrities, not maybe in recent times, but certainly recent history. Personality has become a big thing in politics. We want our politicians to have charisma and personality and have dominant personalities. Well, Jeremy Clarkson has one of them.
He does, although his personality's led him to being suspended from his job in Top Gear a few years ago. An altercation with
there has been
production.
Controversies. I don't think even Jeremy Clarkson would disagree with that, yes.
So I think in this
controversy didn't do Donald Trump any harm. It's part of being...
Or Boris Johnson.
Part of being real, in a way. People like to know your real humanity.
But I think that's where politics has gone wrong globally, because I think we rely now too much on personality rather than the systems and ways of running things and being a good bureaucrat. And again, these things like being a bureaucrat sounds boring, but actually you want someone that's boring running your country in terms of getting things done, delivering efficiencies, delivering promises. Whereas now I feel like we're too much led by like people that are charismatic, that promise the world but don't deliver.
But Keir Starmer has been criticised for many things. Having a personality hasn't been one recently. But that's not to say he's not doing a good job, but he has had a lot of criticism. And maybe that's because people haven't warmed to him. They're not on his side. So maybe actually that's what we need. We need a character that people like first and will give the benefit of the doubt early on.
But it sometimes feels as if we get the leaders that we deserve, because we're so in this world where we have these social media influencers, these loud celebrities, and because they've become the icons, the gods of our time, we almost look to them for leadership. And I think they're fun to have as like occasional contributors on certain issues, but to run a country, I think you need someone that steady hands on the till, not just this loud-mouthed voice.
Being Prime Minister's hard work. You need all of these things.
Underestimated.
Napoleon said a leader is a dealer in hope. And that really matters. Yeah, of course, you need to be able to make the trains run on time, but actually being able to talk to the country, to talk to voters, and people say, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing, this woman knows what they're doing, they've got a vision. That's not a small part of leadership.
It's essential. Have to know what they're doing.
Of course. And that's why being Prime Minister, you don't need a couple of qualities, you need about 10. And that's why a successful Prime Minister is unusual, because it's rare for people to have all the combination. But actually, communication, which obviously celebrities tend to be quite good at, it's not a small thing. We need to know what a politician is doing, why they're going there, and that ability to relate to voters is so important. And Keir Starmer, unfortunately, I don't think does have it. It doesn't matter so much at the moment, but when you're in tough times, like the fuel protest...
Well, you say it doesn't matter at the moment. I don't know if that's necessarily true, because he's saying he's making the tough decisions and he's making really controversial decisions at the moment that people are not liking. Now, if he was better maybe at communicating, maybe more people would be on his side and give him the backing early on to think, OK, we can see where this is going. So it could be a communications issue, which maybe Jeremy Clarkson wouldn't have, but whether he'd have the good policies, I suppose, is the question. If indeed that's what Keir Starmer has, I'm not making any judgments on that at all. Rob from Cumbria, what's your view when it comes to Jeremy Clarkson? Do you think he has all it takes to be Prime Minister?
No, I don't. I don't think he has. In his presenting career, he's made quite a few gaffes, and I think that would carry on. But if you look at the calibre of Prime Ministers we've had over the last 20 years, and the Prime Minister we have now, and the Conservatives have just elected another, I think, which would be Norfolk Prime Minister in Kemi Badenoch. I think Aaron Starmer, I think it'd be heads or tails who would be the worst Prime Minister. So I think Clarkson could probably fit the mould of what we've had and what we've got, but I think he would be an awful Prime Minister.
OK, that is the least optimistic call I think we're going to have all day. So no, he wouldn't make a good Prime Minister, but actually looking at the lot we've had recently, he might not be the worst. What about the accusation that he could be Britain's answer to Trump? Do you think there are similarities between Jeremy Clarkson and Donald Trump?
Maybe the ability to upset people, but you don't necessarily want that in a leader of the country, do you? You want someone who's going to sort things out.
Well, you say Donald Trump upsets people, and for sure that's absolutely true, but he did win the popular vote, so he also gets a lot of people on side. I don't know, what do you think about when it comes to characters becoming politicians? Are we picking the right characters for leadership? Because controversies follow Donald Trump, the way he refers to ethnic minorities, the way he refers to women, lots of different things that he has done in the past. Jeremy Clarkson, equally so, the way he referred to Meghan Markle in that famous column, his altercations with producers. There's lots of maybe unsavoury personality traits there. Yeah,
I covered the US election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton for the Times, and I went to lots of rallies of both candidates. And the thing I remember most was, they have the banks of people behind them when they're speaking. The people at the Hillary Clinton rallies were just basically glum, and they always joke that the applause at the beginning of a Hillary Clinton speech was louder than at the end. Trump, people laughed, sometimes they frowned, but they were engaged. And I think that's the key thing now. People, the defects that you described for Trump are absolutely true. But why people have voted for him in the way they did, despite knowing that, the Americans know all this as well as we do, is they say, well, I don't agree with him on that, I don't like that, but this guy is telling me the truth. This guy isn't giving me a script like they thought of Hillary Clinton. And they say, I want someone who will talk about stuff in a real way that no one else will.
Right.
And that's why people are taking a risk with people like Trump and potentially Clarkson, because, frankly, the biggest risk a lot of them feel is carrying on with the same kind of politician who talks to me like I'm down to me. I've had enough of that. And that's why there's a gap in the market.
OK, well, thank you very much, Rob, for getting in touch. Do just want to take a moment to show you some more pictures.